Time is an illusion. Hey, how's it going, everyone? So, I was actually trying to do this little written piece as an article for my social media pages, and I've been kind of tipping away at it over the last week or so, trying to make it as precise as possible, without veering off in too many angles. And it became quite difficult. I tried to finalize it this morning and realized that it's just there's too many variables, and I possibly won't be able to cover all the areas, and that I'll probably land up writing a million messages back to people that reply to it. So I thought, stuff it, I'll do a quick video. At least then, when you're seeing me speak, we can prevent any misinterpretation. So, time is an illusion. I have a saying that I often use to my students and people that I train with, that you can have trained for 10 years but have 1 year's worth of skill, or you could train for 1 year and have 10 years worth of skill. And really, all I'm trying to emphasize there is that the quality of your training is what's important, and how you use your time, and not the length of time that you're involved in the martial art. So the idea is that often in traditional martial arts, that a person's skill is associated with the length of time they've served in the system. So if you're not familiar with traditional martial arts, which I presume most people are if you're watching this video, but let's quickly have a look at the Chinese martial arts family, as it were, or the hierarchy of it, because that's what I'm familiar with. That it's kind of mirrors the family idea, that you sense the instructor, the sifu, shifu, is the father, head of the family household, and then you would have the older brothers and sisters, which are the seniors, and then you would have the juniors going down all the way. So the newest student would be like the baby to the family, and the idea is the older brothers and sisters help in the education and looking after the younger brothers, and it goes like so. And then the families move on to, then you have your grandparents that will be given more importance because they're the older of the family. You'd have your uncles, aunts, cousins, etc. Now, it's a great idea. However, the downfall of this is that a person's skill and status is based on where you sit on this tree often. So, if you were one of the first students of your instructor, very likely you will be the highest ranked in your club. That's the way it goes. Time served often. Very, very rarely, and I've traveled the world training martial arts, and in traditional martial arts, very rarely is a person's skill and rank equivalent. So, because you just can't jump hierarchy in these things, So, if you're the direct student of the master of the system, then you have a certain rank, a status. Now, if you're all the way down on the line, you could be much better skilled, but you will never have the same rank as them. And this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest downfalls of traditional martial arts, is that it becomes a time where it becomes often just time served. So you're just in the system, you do it long enough, you get the rank, but it's not really skill equivalent. And over the years of traveling, I see a consistent theme where you'll have individuals travel to the top masters of their system, purely for the purpose of being at the hierarchy high enough on the tree. So because it's very good for advertising. So you go there, often these people are wealthy because they pay for it. usually they're lazy, and usually they got jack shit skill. They go, they get the status, they do the master flight home, and then they open up their club and their business and they start making money from it. And there we go, the problem. Now, I'm not saying that, you get people that go and stay in, let's say, China, Japan, Asia, or America, wherever they go and live, and they say, right, I'm going to train full time. But, are they training full time, or are they working and training just as many hours as you were if you were in a normal club? The thing is that traditionally, it's very, very rare that a person's skill and rank are the same thing. But as people outside of the styles and outside of it, you think a person's rank is indicative of their skill. And from my experience, it almost never is the case. So what I like to use is a very basic mathematical equation. Okay. Now, I've jotted a few things down so I don't have to do all the maths on the top of my head. Okay, but let's give you an example. Okay, we've got Jack. Jack is however old you want to imagine he's been. Let's say he's 40 years old, because he's got 20 years of experience. He's been training for 20 years. He's done well for himself. He's, hold that thought. I've got to fuel the coffee. I've got training shortly. He's done well for himself. He's got his own club now. He's even got a disciple status in his system, so he is one of the higher ranking people. He's a lineage holder now. Traditional martial arts will hold that very in high status now. He's got the lingo. Shit, man, he's even got a Chinese name. There we go. Fucking, he's the real deal. Yeah, given himself a Chinese name. Someone's gave it to him, so he's the real deal. Trains 3 times a week. He's coaching a little bit. He trains 3 times. He's got a bit of a job on the side, and maybe he has a full-time club. He has a full-time club. Trains 3 times a week himself. So let's base. He's done really well. 20 years. He's kept to a routine. 3 times a week, 1-hour sessions. Trains. In that 20 years, he's done 3,120 hours worth of training. Now, let's presume Jack's been real good. He's not really missed. He's consistent with his training all the time. Now, he takes a 2-week holiday here and there, and he's been sick here and there, but he goes to training camps and he travels to train, and that builds up the hours. So we'll give him, for the benefit of this equation, we'll keep it at 3,120 hours. Great. Okay, that's Jack. Jack is the typical traditional martial arts instructor, or one of the higher ranking practitioners of the traditional arts. Now, let's have a look at Sam. Sam's been training 4 years. Sam's about to turn pro. So, his training consists of 4 hours a day. He has to get up, do a jog for like an hour, a bit of mobility, but he has to work. He's turning pro. He hasn't got great sponsors or anything yet. He hasn't big enough name. He hasn't got big enough fights. He's got a little bit of a sponsors helping him pay his coaching in the gym and stuff, bit of supplements and stuff. But he trains 4 hours a day, 6 days per week. Yeah, for someone turning pro, about average. So let's have a look. Sam's training time in 1 year is 1,248 hours. In 3 years, he does 3,744 hours of training. So in 3 years, he does more than the guy that's been training for 20 years. Mac time. Now, I'm not just talking about involved in a martial art, thinking about the theory and shit like that. Like people think, I think about it a lot. Okay? That ain't gonna fucking help you when you've got to fight. Okay? It's about hours done in the art. Okay? Actually doing it. Okay? So he's done 3,744. So in 3 years, Sam has done more training than Jack, who's done 20 years. Okay. Now let's have a look at what they're training. Okay. Sam's got to turn pro. His 3 years is focused training. He's he's training those hours. He's got a professional team. He has a nutritionist. He keeps, look, he's not being sponsored, so, but his coaches on, he's got a coaching team. They're helping him with his nutrition. He can avail of a sports psychologist from his team. So, because that's very important for performance, he's going to have to fight. Okay. He's got a strength and conditioning coach. He's got, obviously then his training partners. He's got a fight, so he's got pros, he's got people better than him that are whipping his ass all the time, and he's developing his skill, his craft. He's fighting all the time. He's sparring continuously. So that's Sam's training. Jack's been training 20 years. He does, comes into the club, trains every now and again. He trains real hard. He eats and drinks what he wants. He's not really, he doesn't really do, see a sports psychologist. He's not going to compete for anything. He doesn't have the worry. He's never actually doesn't have a date down that he's going to be tested. If I had to defend myself, I probably could. He's done 20 years on it, so he knows all the lingo of his system now. He knows all the theory of it. But let's be honest, he has no aspirations of being a fighter, and the chances of him actually having to prove it are slim. As I say, he eats and drinks what he wants. He isn't in great shape, because his Qigong will take care of that, So Jack and Sam meet, and they decide to spar. What happens? Yeah. We see it time and time again, okay? Sam kicks the shit out of Jack, okay? Jack, oh my God, 20 years wasted, okay? It doesn't work. It's because you're under the illusion of your time spent in the art is equivalent to your skill, okay? But you wasted your time. If you had, like Jack's now 50 years old. He started training in the system when he was 30. Okay, like he's 50 years old, he's got a family, you can't expect to be trained like a full-time fighter. No, but when he was 30, he should have done, if he had done 4 years of proper training, hard training, and then those 3 hours that he does a week, real consistent, hard training, proper training, he might have been able to hold his own. Possibly still not, because a full-time professional fighter and a part-time, even if you're your instructor, you're a coach, or whatever, master, like you're still part-time compared to you're a hobbyist compared to a professional fighter. The likelihood that you're going to be successful is slim. But you can see where the problem is the illusion of time. We think that the more time we evolved in the art equates to our skill. So this is something that's important to remember, that it's the quality of the training that we do, and not necessarily the length of time that we're involved in it. So, this is why, guys, your skill your skill is based on what you can do, and not just your length of time in the arts. So, I think I've covered most of the stuff. So you've got. That's why you've got guys that are like. I watched a very good clip by Jesse. If you haven't watched his YouTube channel, I'll put a link actually in. He's the karate nerd, and he got together with a Thai boxer. I think it was in Germany or somewhere, and he was a retired Thai boxer. And they did a little bit of sparring, and you can see the Thai boxer was just taking it easy. Like he's not fighting pro anymore, but. He's a lot of time lengthy. His training routine, I'm sure, is nowhere near what it used to be when he was younger. But he put the hard work and the fundamentals in, and now it can still pay off. He's still got the skill. But if you had to say to him, are you ready to get in the ring now with people? It'd probably go, no, like I'm not. I'm too old, or I'm not ready. For that type of level of fighting. And most people that do that type of training and combat know that. You're just not at that level. But traditional martial artists become under this illusion of time that they're still skilled. You see the old master, he's 70 years old, he's really good, he can, and then people think he can really fight, and they fall for him because they don't want to, they don't resist him, they don't, because, he's older, and then he gets the illusion that he can still fight, he can probably pull out a few moves, but lads, Mike Tyson is awesome, and you look at him back in the ring now. He's doing a great job. He's getting in shape, but ask him, would he go in with someone his weight category, at his where he used to fight 20, 30 years younger? Age is a big thing. Age and your skill in combat is very different. But this is where all this illusion comes from, is that people get given the rank, and then people equate the rank with skill. No, the guys, you ask a coach, and the coach is like, he's a 70-year-old wrestling coach. He's like, you're going to train with him, you're going to respect him. He's done the time, he's done the work, he's won the matches. He knows what it takes to train you to be a fighter or a wrestler. He's under no illusion. He can still do the moves, but he's not going to get in the ring and wrestle rounds against younger guys. He's like, I'm going to be flipping injured. I can't do that. Okay, that's because the reality of what he's trained it, he knows, he's knowledgeable. The downside is when you get people his age that are from the traditional martial arts that have never had fundamentals, the base training, and then they're under the illusion that they have this skill because of time in the system. Okay, we talk about in traditional martial setting foundations, and most people don't, because they don't have the foundations of the real hard training. That, there's old saying that if you train, if you don't train properly, you don't train your gong, in old age, your kung fu will be hollow. Now, often people just think of that as your hard training, your stance training, your physical training and stuff. But let's look at it funny. Like, have you tested the stuff? Have you done the time? Have you got your ass whipped enough so you've actually got the skill? So, there's a lot of variables in this, but I think it gives you the idea that you could train for 10 years, but really, you're training part-time, a few hours a week. You really only got the skill of a beginner still, okay? Or you could train for 1 year and be really, really focused and get a lot more skill. This is why you see people like, I use jiu-jitsu because I'm somewhat involved in groups that do that, BJJ, and you get your ranks there based on skill. So, because there's no way about it. Like, if you've got a black belt, obviously there's some clubs that, people get black belts without actually not have doing the time and skill. But generally speaking, if a guy wears a black belt in BJJ, he's had to roll. He's had to, maybe some people don't compete, but he's had to have proved his art. He can do the stuff, okay? Because their training consists of doing it all the time. You're not going out and doing forms and doing stuff. He's actually doing it. There is no way. That's why there's so few belts, but you have to earn it. You actually have to be able to do what you say. You know the moves. Can you do mount? Can you do all the techniques? You have to prove that you can do them against someone not letting you do them, trying to do them back on you. Where in the case in traditional martial arts, that's not the case, at all, ever. That's people are put in that scenario. So, guys, this is why it's about what you're training, how you're training it, and not just time served in an art, where a guy that's been 20 years in the art may very well be very knowledgeable of the art and can pass on the art to you, which is okay. But if I were you, then what I do is that I wouldn't be taking too much advice on fighting and applications from them. You could then get the knowledge and apply it yourself. The person who taught me my ABCs, this is my school teachers at kindergarten, I don't necessarily talk the way they talk. And the way I use them, they probably saying, thank God he doesn't. But you see how I took the knowledge and applied it myself. You can do the same. So if you're in a position where your coach doesn't have from traditional martial arts, you're very likely in a position where your coach doesn't have the combat background at all. If you're traveling to China and places like that, let's face it, they don't. Generally, they don't, because they've been such laws in place and things like that. The guy's always had 1 or 2 fights. Oh yeah, my teacher always had a fight. He said one fight, lads. I could go down to a local gym where like there's pro fighters and they've had flipping maybe 10 pro fights, let alone amateur fights. You're probably going to go up into hundreds of fights. And then you're telling me your master or something's really good because he's had 1 or 2 fights. Come on, you know. But you can still take the knowledge and then apply that theory of, okay, do I want to train for 10 years and only have 1 year left or worth of skill? Or am I going to take this knowledge, okay, and apply it and start using it, start testing it, questioning it, and develop the skill by training properly so I don't land up being Jack? Okay? Up to you. The power's in your hands. Once you get the knowledge, what you do with it is up to you. Okay? What the problem is, you say to, why doesn't, just leave you with this thought, why doesn't Jack, why wasn't he going and testing his stuff out? Okay, why wasn't he? Well, I'll give you a very good reason why it doesn't happen, generally speaking. Because I've traveled the world and I've met lots of people at different clubs and things, and I like my coffee. You see, when Jack came back and opened up his club, he got students, started training. Now, the problem is, if Jack starts going out and testing his stuff, he can't do it in his club because he's got some seniors, and but you know, they're not as good as him. You know, they're fairly shoddy as well at fighting. And now he knows he needs to do something. But if he goes to a local club where they do fight, he's going to get his ass whipped. And then what's going to happen then? He's going to lose his club. All his students are going to realize, oh, you're not so good. And this is why people that take the lineage holders of which I've always found is really bad, a bad deal. And that's why I've always steered away from it, is trying to be like a lineage or a disciple or things like that, is because then suddenly, oh, you're doing it for the style, and now people, you know, Jack's gonna fight, but Jack's representing this school, and now he's worried. Oh shit! If I go and spar and I lose, you know, I'm gonna lose my face. My teacher's gonna lose face. I'm gonna lose all my students, so they don't do it. So now they can no longer do it. They're stuck. Okay, as opposed to just being Jack who trains, and he's gonna go and spar and fight, and he's going to lose, no problem. It would have been easier if Jack had done it to begin with, because it'd be no problem. In 20 years now, he'd have 20 years of skill, but he didn't. And now Jack is stuck. And that's what happens all the time. Okay. And this is why personally, you know, I know that scenario. I've always gone to different clubs and different and schools and trained different things, and always gone back as a white belt and get my ass whipped all the time, and no problem, you know, to go in, okay, I'm a beginner, you know, I hope when I go to a place like I just like, oh, please don't ask if I've done anything before, because I don't want to say I've done anything before, because I just want to learn, and get in, and, you know, not think, oh, right, he's this level, or he thinks he's that level. I'm like, no, man, I'm just Mark. I'm not Mark representing nothing. I'm just Mark that's trained some stuff, and let's go. You know, and we'll train. Oh, geez, yeah, you're better. You know, and we're practicing throwing, and the guy that's been training only a year is better at throws than me. Right, I'm going to learn. Okay, and this is why the ego stops and people get stuck and they can no longer grow. And this is how the scenario happens. And you really want to prevent that scenario happening by making sure you don't have 10 years. Don't be Jack. Jack, if there is a Jack out there watching this, I apologize, I'm using your name. Don't be athlete X that gets stuck in that rut and doesn't develop skills. So guys, I hope I've covered things. I probably haven't, and you know, it's just my thoughts on this scenario, why, and this is something that I warn my students about. We train, and this can easily happen. Now, guys, maybe you're like, hey, I'm happy to do my traditional martial arts and just do it for the health and the fun of it, and I know that I can't really fight, and I'm happy with that because I don't want to fight. I don't want to take the pain and the injuries that you're gonna get from it. So it's like, look, I'm cool. That's cool, because you know what you're doing. You're not under illusion. You're not lying to anyone, telling them that you're this and you're that, when you're not, because you're just like, hey, I'm cool with that. No, that's no problem, because hey, you know, a guy starting at the age of 40 maybe just hasn't got an athletic background. Maybe that's just like the last thing he wants to. He just wants to get fit in a fun way, and that's cool. That's no problem at all. Okay, as long as he's not lying to himself and the instructor's not lying to him. Because there's something to take from traditional martial arts. You can practice lots of different ways, but it's important to know what you're doing and why you're doing it and for what level of skill you're at. Okay, if someone comes to me and says, Mark, I need you to train me up to fight in a ring, I'm gonna be like, no. I can tell you where to go, I'll give you a ring and get you the introduction, but I can't teach you to fight in a ring. I've never fought in a ring, you know. So it's like, no, I'm not gonna teach you that. I'm not gonna pretend to teach you that. I'm not gonna give you the illusion that I can get you to that level, because I know. Okay, so guys, the ramblings of Mark on a Saturday morning. So now I need to go and train myself. If you're in lockdown and coronavirus, guys, stay safe, keep training, and if you've managed to watch 6 minutes of this, fair dues to you.